humanity, I think, is really in a bad spot in a lot of regards.
Yep.
But there is a lot of love in the comments.
It's not about big numbers. It's about how deep, what we do quality. And are we supporting our folks in a quality way, increasing that engagement, giving them the tools to be successful in their work?
I think kindness is a superpower. I often say that kindness is undefeated when it's genuine.
To me, stands out from great leaders is when asked about their business, they immediately go to their people. I have this belief that you should only be in a room where you can inspire or be inspired.
You know, you could give money to another very well-deserving organization. We just don't have that because our engagement is deeper, and that's where the impact is.
Every single person has a way to give back, whether it be time, talent, or treasure.
Just keep going. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. There is a path. You have no idea what it is, but it will get you there.
There's one thing that all champions have in common. They get shit done. So welcome to the Get Shit Done Experience. Well, we are back at it again. This is the Get Shit Done Experience, also known as the GSDX podcast. Once again, super grateful. You guys are playing along. This is a participation sport, man. You are getting involved. Thank you so much for all the comments, the likes, and the shares. It's been amazing. You fill me up, you light me up, and I really appreciate it. You know, I'm not doing this for my health, but I know I look very healthy, but I'm not doing this for my health. I'm trying my best to promote amazing people, and we have amazing people on today. And first off, I want to introduce back on the show such an amazing guest. Had to bring him on as a co-host, the one and only Frank T. Ziti. There he is.
Hello, everybody. My name is Frank. Am I too close? Am I too close?
Yeah, no, just get ready.
Good to see you. Good to be here. I'm so excited to promote the gentleman to my right. So it's about him today. But yeah, we're here to talk.
And by the way, that gentleman to your right, my left, straight in front of me,
Bam,
is Mr. R.J. McMahon.
Woo!
How are you, sir?
I'm great. Really honored and blessed to be with you two. I want to say knuckleheads, but you're really not. But it feels like the energy is kind
more
of there.
stooges,
Right?
More stooges.
I like a little knuckle.
I call him Curly.
Okay.
Okay.
Shep.
Wow.
Does that make you Mo?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Right.
You do have a similar voice to Mo. So a very prominent, right? A robust voice.
First of all, your knowledge of the Three Stooges is impressive to me.
It is impressive. Remember, I'm the youngest of 6 kids. So
okay.
Right.
I was the remote.
There you go.
Before
Exactly.
remotes
Change it.
happened,
Right,
I was like,
exactly.
hey, go change that. Hold the rabbit bunny ears, right?
Stay right there. Can I come out in front of the TV? No,
was
stay
the
there.
problem. Thank God I had the metal plate in my head. It was really good for the signal. I just sit Indian style next to the television.
It's really, I mean, you're surprised when those gifts really just keep giving.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It was bad, though, when my mom would turn the microwave on. I'd, piss my pants and forget my name. But other than that, it was great. It was very good.
You just be out of range, right?
Yeah.
Just learn to play. Right?
Sometimes I had to go out back.
Exactly.
So, but I'm a Gen Xer, and oftentimes we went out back and we didn't come home until we heard the whistle and the lights went on.
You had a
the
whistle?
streetlights. Oh gosh, yeah. My mom and dad both could whistle, right?
Nice.
My dad had a whistle, and I think every parent in the neighborhood had a whistle. So when the whistle went off, you're like, "Hey, your dad wants you to go home." Yeah. So I heard the whistle. I was like, "No, that was your dad." Like we knew the whistle.
That was your dad's whistle, not
just
mine.
Get home. Lights are about to come on.
We always ate late. The McMahons always ate late. We were always the last ones to eat. And so I'd funnel through all of my pals on the block, right? Okay, ZD's, they eat first, right? Then Morris's, and then the Smiths and the Joneses. And then eventually everyone's like, RJ, when are you guys eating? Like, my mom will let me know, like street lights are going on. No, I still got some time.
RJ's 15 years old. He's 38 pounds.
Yeah. Skin and bones.
I don't think they ate without me. That's a good point. I never really circled back on that.
Hey, the doors were locked again, guys.
Did you forget about me?
Was your house the house in the neighborhood?
No. I was the youngest of 4, 3 older sisters and me. So I left and then would come back. And my sisters always got ticked off. Like, you didn't have a curfew? I said, I didn't. And part of that was because you guys paved the way and you stretched the boundaries. Yeah. And then I was the boy kind of coming in at the end, like, no, he's fine. Don't worry about that.
So the faces on the milk cartons worked. Yeah, it scared him enough.
Well, I mean, we grew up in a time where it was like, all right, so here was the rule, like be home by the time the lights go on. And then there was a few other like unwritten rules. Like the house with the unkept lawn, probably cross
away.
the street.
Yeah.
When you're walking by that one,
Or car parts.
Yeah,
Right.
a lot of car parts.
Yeah.
The if there's a car on cinder blocks in the driveway, probably
there.
not a great one for you to ride your bike real close to or stop.
Exactly. Right. Just
let's
keep
get
going.
past that
exactly.
one. There's always savings, but it's about way more than savings alone. Total Technology Solutions Group redefines managed print services. Excellence is the minimum standard. TTSG is a true managed print service provider, deeply understanding your technology and business goals. Your business is unique. Our solutions are tailored to your current and future business goals. Our customer-first approach empowers and delights. TTSG can ensure your technology environment will scale as your business does. So as you navigate business and constant change, partner with TTSG for premium advisement and seamless implementation of your technology goals. We set the bar high. Your people deserve it. Peace of mind. Powerful innovation. TTSG.com. I also learned never throw snowballs at an 18-year-old's Camaro in the winter because they will turn around and chase you. So we learned that. We had to run through like 12 different houses. But
That was always fun, though. Did you ever hit an undercover cop? We did that.
No.
Oh, it was bad. It was bad.
Just to be clear, I'm from Arizona. We didn't do this.
Were you throwing
we didn't have-
cacti? You were throwing cacti.
We did not
at them?
throw cacti at anybody. No.
Here's some sand, buddy.
There was a lot of that.
Here's a handful of arroyo.
Dirt. Little pebbles coming your way.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's like, what?
No. Oh, yeah. No, oh, yeah. We had some tough runs there for a while.
Yeah. I mean, it
But
builds
we all survived.
character.
But
So
you're
that's
here
good.
now.
I'm here now.
You're here now.
Exactly.
Looking good.
Grateful to be here now.
That weight loss
back.
program your parents put you on
Yeah, exactly.
panned out.
It panned out, yes.
That's correct.
Exactly. You look lovely.
Why, thank you. Feeling good.
I will tell
Feeling
you,
good, Billy
you're
Ray.
probably wondering, because it's 6 minutes into the episode, you're probably wondering what the
are we
hell
here for?
RJ does. So
right.
let's
He
go ahead
does
and give you
cool
that.
stuff.
Right.
So
There you go.
RJ is the CEO of Oak Leyden, which essentially is helping adults, right?
Correct. Adults and little kiddos with
little kiddos.
intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Okay.
So we have 11 group homes. 51 adults live in those homes. We also have 2 day programs for our residents as well as community members. So if you have a loved one, a sibling or a child as an adult, and they live with you in your home, but we offer opportunities for them to socialize, to learn things in our day programs Monday through Friday. And then we also have early intervention services for little kiddos birth to 3 who are diagnosed, evaluated, assessed with delays and disabilities.
So are these folks that would have like a Down syndrome type of a thing?
Correct.
Okay, so like my heart just fills up. Well, I'm on social media a lot.
Okay.
And there is a thing, and I think it's a wonderful thing, where quite a few of these men and women with Down syndrome have unbelievable profiles on TikTok and Instagram where they sing or they lip sync or they do whatever their passion is or whatever. And every time I see it, I just absolutely smile and I love it. But you know what's really cool is humanity, I think, is really in a bad spot in a lot of regards.
Yep.
But there is a lot of love in the comments. There's a lot of love and support in the comments, which really does make me feel a little bit better about humanity because I really think we're a little bit off track. Have you noticed we're a bit off track?
I thought I read something about that,
Yeah.
that we're off track.
Seems a
Yeah.
bit
Have you
off
seen anything?
track.
Right? Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
Exactly. Yes.
Somehow we're on a dirt road, and it's a NASCAR.
How did we get here?
Well,
don't know.
when did kindness become a weakness?
Yeah.
I think kindness is a superpower. I often say that kindness is undefeated when it's genuine. Right. So if it's disingenuous, people can tell that you're just saving face or giving lip service.
Here's the problem, though. Superpowers are rarities. And the fact that kindness is a superpower, although I get where you're coming from, doesn't that scare you a little bit? That it's like
it shouldn't be something.
it should
in
just
short
be
supply.
innate.
Correct.
Right. It should be baked in.
Correct.
Right. It should be baked in, and that should be the default. Right.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't have to overthink this or over deliver, and it should just be boom.
But
Yeah.
I think you and I
Should just
talked.
happen.
You and I talked last time. I think that there's a protective sense of human beings. We're all like And that's innate, right? To protect ourselves from fear or danger or adversity. So we're very cautious about extending our kindness or extending our grace because we don't ourselves want to be insulted or belittled, right? So we're just, everybody's sort of got that buffer, that force field. But when you can let it down, and I think one of the things you're doing there on social media, interacting that way, but I would say that if you've got anybody who is either a bully or not understanding or harsh, just put them one-on-one with one of these people for 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And that's going to change their perception.
Right.
Especially when there's families that do the content and they show the interaction of, how the family members all act and how much joy they get and how much laughter is created from it. I just find it to be spectacular. But it brings me back to my childhood where I grew up in Arlington Heights. And there was a McDonald's on Arlington Heights Road right by Town and Country Mall, if you recall. You know where I'm talking about.
I do.
And there was a gentleman with Down syndrome there that worked there. Mm-hmm. And he just was just the most productive dude. I mean, every time we went there, and it was a treat to go to. Remember when it was a treat to go to McDonald's? Like, it wasn't.
Yep.
Like, it wasn't like now you're just like, oh, I want a Big Mac. You just stop there, whatever.
Right.
And it's, $9. It was like 50 cents for a cheeseburger, but it was a once a month treat to be able to go there. But whenever we went there, this guy was just hustling, just working.
Awesome. Right.
And, the other employees were like, damn it, I can't believe I work here. I wish I didn't work here. And this guy's just hustling.
Happy as a clam to be there, and all the interactions, right? Just all.
Talk about a brand champion, culture igniter. I mean, and that's probably some of what you're seeing.
Absolutely. And I think, our folks, the individuals that we support, they range in kind of their abilities, what brings them to us, whether it's Down syndrome, autism spectrum disorder, various behavior challenges, right? And so we have folks that are non-communicative and folks that could light up a room, right? And it's all of that. And we've got our frontline team, they get it done, right? And I say it all the time. It's hard work. And it's hard work on the best day. And we don't always see the best day from our folks, right? So they keep showing up. And that's the piece that we have to really shine a light on. And for us, for our organization, for our work, if we take care of our team, we know that they'll in turn take care of the individuals we support. So while our participants are at the core of what we do, right next to it and right in line are our team, right? Yeah. So out of our 130 folks that work at Oak Leyden, 85-ish are frontline team members, right? And they're working, they're kicking it in each home, solo, right? So how do we create that team so that everybody knows that they're part of something that's bigger and really deepens an impact?
Full disclosure to your audience, we play basketball together.
Yeah.
My son had a basketball coach. I asked, do you play ball? He said, yes, come to this gym. I was like, great. RJ was one of the guys at that gym. We didn't know that. We became friends. But now every time when I go to see him, and we play at an ungodly hour. Can we fix this?
What time you play?
5:30 in the morning till 7.
Oh my God.
It's beautiful.
Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah,
it's not
5:30
beautiful.
5:30 in the morning is way early. I mean, I've only done like 5 ice baths by then. I've run about 6 to 7 miles.
Did you see the video of the person who's like, I get up at 2:30?
Yeah.
And I was like, no,
2:30?
you didn't get up.
What do you mean? Right. Why don't you get up at 11:30?
You're still asleep. Yeah.
Exactly. The day before.
Right.
But we have these
that yesterday.
2:30. That's sleeping in.
That's right. We have these conversations before we play for like 15, 20 minutes. Like, how's leadership going? And that's what RJ is. I mean, RJ is navigating all these things, budgets and teams and direction and all that. But at the heart of what you've been talking about with me a lot is, how do I lead these people? How do I inspire these people? And that's never easy. And what I love about you is that you're really active in it. I think the big difference between a leader is a reactive and a proactive leader. I think it was intention is always better than intuition. So like your purposefulness as a leader, instead of just waiting till something happens and reacting to it, shows that you're actually there to lead and not just do triage.
I appreciate that. That's really very kind words and from someone that I respect. So I truly appreciate that. And I think, and you said something within the last week or so that, when leadership is easy, you're not doing it right.
Right.
That was so insightful, right? Leadership is hard, and it should be, right? And I think going back to what you guys were saying earlier about kindness, I think sometimes as leaders, we shy away from being kind. And
I know what you're thinking.
Right?
We had this conversation last time you and I talked.
Gary Vee.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's so antithetical to what we're trying to do. And I don't care if we're in the car business, if we're supporting individuals with intellectual developmental disabilities, if we're selling copiers, whatever it might be, we have to start there.
I think the way that the light bulb that went off for me recently is that a leader that doesn't have a plan, a safety plan, or a set of consequences or a set of parameters, when something goes wrong, they get incredibly angry because they're like, why would you do that? An intentional leader goes, hey, I'm not mad. We have a system and we have rules. That rule was broken. This is about consequences. I'm here to still lead you and do all these things, but we made it very clear what the expectations were. They weren't met. It's not a good or bad.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
The other way that you just said it to start is emotional. And I think a really good CEO is emotional when giving gratitude, when giving recognition, when giving affection, like for the efforts and the return on investment that's created. But they're non-emotional when challenges, problems, or rules have been broken. Right? That's when you get really system driven.
But the heart of it, is the opposite. A lot of managers are the other way.
Oh my God.
Here's the bonus check.
Right.
Good job.
Yeah,
Way to
you were
get those 5
supposed to do
stars.
that.
Right.
But when something goes wrong, what the hell is happening? Why?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
And then, so you create a culture of just assuming that greatness is going to happen.
Right.
And that is not leading for greatness, leading people to greatness.
No,
luck as a strategy.
Becomes this, right? It becomes, you didn't do this, you didn't
RJ,
do that.
I don't like that, first of all. Please don't point at me like
I
that.
know.
I don't like that.
Nobody likes that. No one should like that, right?
correct.
But it becomes transactional, right? And so do X, Y, or Z. If you didn't do X, Y, or Z, then I'm going to do A, B, and C. Versus let's work through this together. Like, what was there a stumbling block? And if not, then we got to rectify that and we got to get better.
Out of curiosity, because I have a neurodivergent son in my life, with some ADHD and things, I'm learning, that what symptoms to look for and how I'm supposed to deal with it. But you're talking about people who are on a spectrum, right? 1 to 10, 10 being a real struggle. What are some of the biggest challenges that your staff have to deal with that make trying to be that engaged helper really a struggle?
It's such a great question. And I think it varies day to day, minute by minute in many respects. But what I love, and I had a conversation with someone over breakfast today, one of our team members, one of our team leads, and what I've been impressed with throughout my time at Oak Leyden is the level of commitment and understanding of each participant that we support, right? So I go to John and see, John, how was Sean today at the day program? Or ask Frank, what about Alan? How's Alan doing these days? And you'll know, our folks know, oh, you know what, Sean was a little overstimulated, so he needed a little bit of time at the end of the day to just give him some space, right? And Alan, he can be emotional, he can be physical, but just make sure that you talk to him this way. And so it truly varies, and they know them, and it's just the level of connection is amazing, and so what I've come to appreciate is, yes, it certainly varies from 1 to 10 and up to 11 when you really got to go hard, but ultimately just trying to keep it one step in front of the next, and just keep that engagement and a level of commitment to the individual, to the person, not the emotion, not the symptom, not the XXX, right?
So you manage to a system, but you have to manage each individual within that system. Not to take us back, but when the question was first posed, your response innately was to first off smile. Mm-hmm. You started beaming, Okay. You can't see that, but I see it, right? Maybe you feel it. Like, hey, I'm kind of smiling. I'm smiling. Am I smiling right now? Right. You can feel if you're smiling. So that was stupid. But I could see it. You started talking about your people, immediately lit up. But what to me stands out from great leaders is when asked about their business, they immediately go to their people. They don't go to products. They don't go to services. They don't go to what's the features and benefits, right? They go to their people. And that shows purpose. So that was really cool that you did that. And again, that was, I mean, I know we practiced this for about 3 hours before, but still, the fact that you stayed on script. No, that's right. This is, we have no safety net here, people. Okay. You can tell
without a net.
By the way, if anyone possibly could have written this script, they need to be checked in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chat GPT did all the work.
Right. Exactly. My teleprompter's out, by the way, John.
Sorry. You're back.
I think it's in Russian. Yeah. I don't know what's happening.
Damn it. I told you he'd say whatever's on the teleprompter.
That's right.
So that's a really, really cool thing. But I always like to understand this, right? So Frank, you got to this set of values and purpose and principles through a series of events where you're in the present, you're in the moment, you look back, you reflect, you went, ooh, when I do that, I get that. And by the way, when I think this way, it makes me feel this way. Okay, so bring us back a little bit to your upbringing, to you've got sisters. What were your parents like? And were they very principled? Were they very driven by a set of core values? And like, what did you take from that as you were building out your own?
Right. No, gosh, wow. That takes me back a little bit, right? So let me start with the idea of McDonald's, right? And the...
Wait a minute. I thought it was McMahon.
Wait, hold on. Who am
McDowell's.
I? Right? Yeah.
The Dowels.
The Golden Arches.
Exactly. Yeah.
The Big Mick.
Right. So for McDonald's, right, that wasn't a place that, or we didn't go there every day, right? Mm-hmm. So full disclosure, so I have 3 older sisters. I was born on my dad's birthday, and so I'm a junior, Raymond James McMahon Jr. So I was dubbed RJ from the get-go, which is great, and it's kept.
Shit. You took my next question.
There you go. And but literally, my sisters would be like, RJ, go ask Dad if we can go to McDonald's. Like I was the one that always asked, can we do this? Can we do that?
Because the golden boy wants to go to the Golden Arches.
That's right.
Ooh, well played.
For you, done, son, right?
Anything.
Right. So yeah. So I get a lot of grief from my sisters and anyone who knows me. So, but it was phenomenal. Our folks were. My dad worked. He was in sales and always working, always hustling. Right. And we had the benefit of our mom being home with us. And
isn't that a benefit?
It certainly was for us. It was for us, right?
It was for me too.
And I'm the youngest. My next oldest sister was 4 years older than me. Then sister, a year older than her, and then 4 years older than her. And so I was. My dad used to call me the caboose, right? So I was the caboose, and my mom. We often look back. She was a cheerleader. She was everybody's cheerleader. Like anyone in the neighborhood, any of our friends, Mrs. McMahon was always in your corner, right? And you could do no wrong. She was like you could do anything, and we didn't have a lot of like rah, John, you can be anything you want, right? Or Frank, you got this, right? It was that's just what we did, and there wasn't, it's funny looking back. I think we had a really good life, right? And grew up in River Forest. My college pals used to laugh at me and they'd call it Mayberry, right? And there was some of that, right? We'd ride our bikes to the park. We all took tennis lessons. We all played, baseball, and it was life. It was a phenomenal upbringing, and really blessed to have that, and a wonderful family that we're still friends. So
I'm really glad that you said that, because success leaves clues, and I don't like to BS people, because one of the things that you just said was like, we didn't come up with you can be anything that you want to be. And I just had this conversation with another guest talking about like, is the idea of like, if it's your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. And I said, well, what if your passion is knitting quilts? You're going to be broke. Like if you're knitting them by hand, they better be like gold fabric if you're going to make a living at that. Right. So the whole idea of like, you can be like, I could have wanted to be the center on the Chicago Bulls.
Sure.
I'm never going to be the center on the Chicago Bulls.
0 championships.
No matter how bad I want it.
-4 championships.
Yes,
exactly. The man.
Not a chance.
The man in the middle.
The man in the middle. Yeah. 5'9 3/4.
Coming out of Wake Forest.
Yeah.
John J-Mo Morris.
Yeah.
That's a clip right there. Clip that.
Boom. Yeah. I'm going to put Queens.
We are the champions
behind it, right? Nice. So, I love that you said that because there's a certain level of setting a goal and having a desire and having a want, but there's a reality that you have to be working within. Yeah. And I think that there's a generation of people that have been like, well, you got an 8th place trophy. I know there was only 7 participants, but you got an 8th. You could absolutely be the shortstop for the Cubs,
yes,
right? Like
absolutely.
This is
not so sure.
Right.
This is what I'm sort of fighting through right now. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine named Josh White, who's a facilitator trainer like me, and I kept asking him, why is this generation now like really struggling with being engaged? He was like, because they were promised that if they just follow their passion,
just manifest it,
they'll be successful, and then they get to this situation, and that didn't work out. Yeah. And they're like, well, what? I was told blank. I was sold a fake bill of goods.
They said I would receive a piece of cake, but I was not able to receive a piece of cake.
My stapler? That's
my stapler.
I haven't got my paycheck.
Blow up the building.
That's right. But I think that there's a misleading statement out there, which is love what you do and do what you love, right? And I'm sort of changing that, like, love what you're doing so you can do what you love.
Mm-hmm.
If you could
and change the world. Right? Let's contribute to changing the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah. I mean, that's, but like, I don't disagree with you, but that's a tall order.
Yeah.
But I think contributing.
What's your goal?
Change the world.
Like how?
Haven't figured it out yet. Do we have time today?
But I think in hearing your story, I'm guessing this of you because, I play basketball with you and you've pushed me around and knocked me in the head a couple of times. But I think that hearing that story the way you told it, I feel like you like the job you do because you want those people to have the life you sort of had. And you want them to have a safe home and you want them to have some sort of quality of life because for you it was just sort of innate. Your parents just made that happen for you. Mm-hmm.
That's really lovely, and thank you. And I guess the piece that I left out was our oldest sister Kathy had some pretty significant delays.
Wow.
And so but back then we didn't really talk about that, right? Mm-hmm. We didn't. She went to the local high school. She went to local grammar school, and she worked and
you rallied around her,
right? Because that's just what we did, right? Mm-hmm. And my sisters were rock stars, right? And everything that they did for and with Kathy, and she passed away in 2013, thank you, but she would have thrived at a place like Oak Leyden, right? And literally, I grew up, I don't know, 2 miles from where I sit in my office, and she would have really thrived, and so having the opportunity to support those folks means a great deal to me and to our family.
So it's personal.
Yes,
it's personal.
So I'm just going to say that, Frank, because when I get to talk to all these people, so I'm like, I don't know how the hell I ended up here, but somehow I get this privilege of like talking to people like you guys, and it's just awesome.
Yeah.
And like, I don't have to ask you for anything after this. You know what I mean? There's like no clothes coming. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, sign here. Now that you did this, sign here, right? I just get to talk with you and understand your story and learn it. And your story is unique and different in its own right and has its own beautiful areas, but there's commonalities to it in that I always seem to get the real purpose of people out. I didn't have to ask this time. You just delivered that, which is freaking awesome. But what I find is these most successful people, this top 1 to 5%, almost always have a thing like that. There was a brother or a sister or a loved one or somebody that didn't have something that they now want to offer, or a loved one, was lost early, and now they feel like they kind of have to do this to honor them.
Right.
And that to me is better than any goal that you could ever set for yourself, of a title, of a financial, accomplishment, any material. That is spirit. That's soul.
Yeah.
And that's what's amazing. So in that case, it's probably, and I don't want to assume this, but it's probably a little bit easier on the bad days to kind of go, wait a minute, why am I doing this?
Right.
Like, my sister needs me to do this.
Wow.
That's really well said and really nicely articulated. And I'm also fortunate, I sit behind a desk, right? And I'm not doing the hard work.
Hold on a sec. Stop minimizing.
Yeah, here comes the humility.
Stop minimizing.
And I appreciate
you're
that.
You're busting your ass. I know you're busting your ass.
Yeah. And we need to do what only we can do.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so I feel very honored to be in that seat, right? And have that opportunity. And yeah, there are tough days, but I'm also fortunate, John and Frank, that, and this is very corny, and I apologize up front, I don't really have bad days. Like, I'm very fortunate to be who I am, and to have a wonderful bride at home, great kids, wonderful family, friends, folks that I get to hoop with in the morning, and it just keeps the ball rolling, literally and figuratively. And the work can be challenging, but ultimately, we're doing some good things, and I feel honored to do it.
So that didn't happen on accident. There's things that obviously happen that cause you to make the right decisions, to do the right thing, even when it hurts. Let's say, do the right thing. Okay, so you have this upbringing. Mom and dad, they're playing their part. Let's be honest. We know mom's the CEO of the house.
Totally.
We know that dad puts his foot down when there is a foot to be put down, but he acquiesces to mom because we know who runs what, right? So,
and also he's an old Irishman, and
there you
so
go. So it's like, why argue?
They're the kindest people ever.
They're quiet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What are you talking
kind,
about?
but
Irishmen acquiesce, except to each other,
Okay.
right?
right?
Totally
Yeah.
spot on.
Just argue about freaking everything,
Right.
but the minute. Have another crab cake. Oh,
That's
full.
good.
Have another crab. I'll have another crab cake.
And RJ, can you make me a Manhattan to go with that crab cake?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I can do Scottish, but I can't do Irish.
Oh, that's
so,
really good.
lovely.
Donkey.
That's right. Let's talk about leadership. Okay.
What you talking about, Shrek?
That's right.
Yeah, my grandfather, right off the boat from Ireland, used to say to my dad, give me a wee bit of Jameson, right? So he would sip the Jameson and he would drink a pint in 2 gulps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The man has priorities.
Priorities.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Priorities.
Literally missed it by 1 second. Took it out of my mouth. Just 1 second.
So the question was like, how you come up, you see mom and dad the way that they are. You see your sisters the way that they are. You see your sister who needs some additional assistance. There's a spot in the heart that always remains. So you have this great upbringing, and now you got to go out on your own. So where do we go to college? Like, what is that? Like, you would mention your college buddies. When we become an adult man,
Right.
Like, where are we going? Where do we go to school, and for what?
Right. So I followed my sister Colleen 4 years ahead of me. She went on to Boston College. I followed her. Fortunate to get in. It was before the Flutie factor. So Doug Flutie won the Heisman in 1984. I was a freshman on campus in the fall of '82. I would not have been able to make it 3 years later when the number of applications exploded.
Yeah,
So
Doug was pretty good for admissions
Recruitment program.
Yes, absolutely. Talk about putting a team on the map.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Yes. Just was fortunate to be in that environment. Met truly lifelong friends. The unplanned roommates, random roommate I was assigned back in, literally fall of 1982. We lived together for 4 years. Through the first 4 years of our marriage, he would always say to my bride, Bert, I've lived with him longer than you have.
That's a friend.
That's quality, right? And fortunate, still in touch with all those guys, and we're coming up on 40 years in 26. So a year from now, we'll celebrate our 40th anniversary, the anniversary of our graduation and reunion, and just crazy, right? And looking back, just those experiences, just growing up, right? Just learning and seeing and being exposed to so much, and then just taking and run with it, right? And just really can't thank everyone, especially my family, for providing that opportunity, and then getting connected to people that are literally still in my life 40 plus years later.
Connecting his dots. So here's Oak Leyden. What's the treasure map that goes back to Boston College?
Yeah.
Ooh, wow, yeah.
Like what did you major in? Like
so I started as a math major because I love numbers, and that lasted a semester. When I realized that math
sucks.
Math sucks. It was all theorems. It was truly all theorems. I'm like, where are the numbers? Where did the numbers go?
My son is very smart, wants to do, but doesn't want to do math. He's like, I'm not going to need this. And my wife's like, yes, you are. And I was like, is he though?
Yeah.
Is he though?
She
was like, stop that. Don't you say that
Does
to him.
he have an iPhone?
Yeah.
Right,
exactly.
Be good.
Is he going to be an astrophysicist?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. So that wasn't for you.
So that wasn't for me. So I figured, okay, well, let me I'll focus on economics, because that is the closest business topic that was not in the School of Business.
And
right?
It's still numbers.
And still numbers.
Yeah.
Right. So the whole supply and demand, that's helpful. Right. So that was it. Got a job literally the day of graduation. Got a job with Champion International, which was a paper products company.
Okay.
Not the sporting goods company that I had thought it was. No. But
this is really cool. Thanks for hiring me. But where are the sweatshirts?
Right, exactly. I thought, why are we focused on a tree over there? Right.
Not one ball in the whole building.
What's up with that? So fortunate there, and I had met my bride. That we were just, girlfriend, boyfriend at that point. She went back to work on her master's. I was working in New York, and we got engaged, and then settled back in Chicago, and took a job, my last corporate job, with an industrial distributor, and got my MBA. Really figured out, like, okay, this is good. Kind of cut my teeth in management and leadership, And then realized, I guess to your point, Frank, earlier, I've been doing some volunteer stuff, and maybe I can make that my life, right? And not do that outside of work, but actually make that work, right? And so in 2000, holy cow, in 2000, 25 years ago, I jumped into the nonprofit world and haven't looked back.
Passion to purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, again, it just keeps coming back to that. I'm curious what drove you, and I'm always curious what drives people into volunteer work. Because I think that whenever I meet people that volunteer their time without expectation of recognition, right? They just kind of do it. I'm always like, I almost feel I can like see their aura. You know what I mean? It's like they're really special human beings, because we are living this world right now that almost traps you in a matrix of having to be very self-centered.
Yep.
And having to be very focused on your thing. Mm-hmm. You're getting pulled in 9 million directions. If you have kids, you got to keep up with the Joneses, and you got to make sure if every kid's playing travel baseball, well, then your kid's got to play travel baseball. And every kid on the team has a $500 bat. Well, your kid's going to have the $550 bat.
You're giving me an anxiety attack.
I mean, it's seriously
right now.
like I had hair down to here until I had kids. It's this whole thing of like keeping up with the Joneses, and it causes you to become very self-focused to keep up.
Yeah,
correct.
So I'm very curious, and always hoping to be inspired. I have this belief that you should only be in a room where you can inspire or be inspired.
I like that.
Like, why be in a room otherwise? If people don't want to take your lead and run with it, then that's a wrong room. And if you can't be in a room where people fire you up and go, give me a little bit of something, because I'm like, I need to turn this corner in my life and do more of this stuff. Yeah. And I think a lot of other people do as well.
No, that's a great setup. And I think for me, it was kind of the first really full commitment to volunteer was coaching my kids, right? So our son and daughter, they're apart in school. So, whether it was baseball, soccer, hoops, whatever it was, I was doing it and loved it, like just loved it, right? And then, got certified to coach a travel soccer team for our daughter, right? And so, nice. In those days, all the travel soccer games were on Sundays. And so our son and my wife they were off doing his games. I was with my daughter, and rarely were we together, right? Yeah. And so, but that was really kind of the first opportunity to do something that I loved, because I'm a team guy. I love it. And, having the opportunity to engage with little kids around a sport is just really fun, right? Like really fun. And you see those, like every once in a while you see something and you're like, holy cow, that Frank gets it. Like did you see that play that he just made? And I'd be so fired up.
Yeah. And I just coached that Wednesday night.
Right.
We just covered that. We just literally downloaded that. And oh my God, the kid listened.
Exactly.
And now he's going to come to the sideline and go, Coach, you were right. It worked.
Exactly. Right.
And that's all you need. That's like a month of fuel in your tank.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, more than that. Right. Yeah. And then it was, volunteering at our church. Right. And our kids were young and they were starting a family ministry something. And like, okay, I'll go to that meeting. Right. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, I guess I'm raising my hand. Did I raise my hand? I don't remember. But
do I have three
all
arms?
Of a sudden,
because I don't feel like one of them went up.
Exactly. Right. And then, going back home and telling your bride, like, I just volunteered to be on this committee. She's like, why? We have 2 kids at home under 4. Like, why would you do that? Like, I don't know. I think someone else volunteered for me. Right?
Yeah.
So, okay. So hold on a second, because I think that there's humility there, and I'm starting to get you. All right. And I love that about you.
John does this thing about halfway through. Right. He's like, I got him. I got him now.
Yeah. I love you for that.
In a good way.
But so if that's the case, then there's, okay. So I'm talking to you right now.
Yes.
You can see me physically talking to you.
Yes.
But what in here is actually talking to you? There's a thing in here.
Right. Something
that's talking to you. And then there's a thing that's transferring energy to you. And there's that. But there's also something going into my noggin.
Right.
I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Am I pulling it from somewhere that's saying, hey, stop him here and ask him this question?
Right.
Go with that vibe.
Dig in a little deeper.
So where is that coming from? Because are you getting is this a calling? Are you feeling some energy say to you like, your hand's going up right now, RJ? You might not like it, but you'll be on a podcast in 40 years talking about it. And people will view it.
What a difference, exactly.
You will be known and loved for it. Like,
wait, what's a podcast?
Exactly. It's like, podcasts. I don't even like, what? Yeah, so I'm always... So
yeah, there's
you get what I'm
something
saying?
there. I do.
Is it a calling? Because if you weren't just like thinking to yourself, like, well, shit, I'm going to do this.
Right.
If you almost were reluctantly, that means that some energy source like pulled your arm up. And you kind of were like, I don't know why I did this, but I felt compelled to.
Right.
What made you do that? So what were you feeling?
Yeah, I think it's it's a higher calling, right? It is, right? And for me, right, that's what I believe in. That's my faith. That's where for me, that's where the rubber hits the road, right? And it's very real in my life and in what I do and what we do. And so, so I'm going to, more likely than not, I'm going to be in a position similar that either allows me to jump in or someone to pull me in. And I think because those that have received need to need to give back, right?
So you have that feeling of I've been blessed, so I'm going to return that favor.
Intentionally or unintentionally, yes, absolutely, right? It's, again, going back to the wonderful house and the home life that I had, and phenomenal family around me, and just the opportunities that presented itself, the phenomenal kids that I have that are just they're rock stars, they're great people, and that's they're stinking bright, and they're really kind, and they're they do good things. But they're good people, and that carries the day for me.
But it's all of that literally sitting on your soul, and then you're there, and they're asking people to raise their hands, and this innate sense inside of you is like, how could I not raise my hand? I'm going to walk out of here going, I could have done something. Why didn't I? And it's almost like it would wreck you if you didn't. And then you get home and you figure out the obligation.
Right.
All right, then we'll get home. We'll figure out the schedules and everything.
Right. Exactly. And again, have a wonderful bride, and she's my partner, and she's my best friend, and she, she's like, that's what we need to do as a family.
As
right.
My wife says, my garden is your garden.
Right.
Like if I want to plant something, I'm not planting something. We're planting something.
Absolutely.
So it's our garden.
Right. Yeah. Although I've come to realize that we weren't pregnant. I've used that before.
Yeah. That's a thing they're doing on their own.
Right.
you get them started.
Right, exactly. I made a comment at one point that, we're pregnant, and she said, when were you pregnant?
Yeah. So when you get in your car, there's the button you push to start the car.
Right.
That's pretty much the man in the equation.
There we go.
After that
done.
we're not.
Right,
there's no other things that are moving. Or
thank goodness.
Thank
goodness.
There's no oil filters for us or anything like that. Like we have no shocks in the game.
No, literally.
Okay, so again, there's a level of humility. First off, your aura is yellow. I can see it. There's like a thing around you.
Wow.
All right.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
He didn't do that with me, just to be clear.
Yeah.
I did not get a color assessment.
Get an aura.
I did not get a color assessment.
We're working on that.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm just going to be honest. Like I made the excuse of a lot of things pulling me in a lot of directions, and that's a BS excuse. It's true, but it's a BS excuse. There's no reason for it. But if volunteering was so easy and so natural, then everyone would do it.
True.
Right? So, and not everyone does it. And including myself. Like I volunteer to coach my kids and that type of stuff. And much like your mother.
Right.
Like I don't care whose kid it is. If they're on my kid's team, I'm pretty much the biggest cheerleader for them ever.
Completely.
To the point where the other mom and dads are like, all right, dude.
Take it down a notch.
Grounded out to
Dial
short.
it back.
Like,
Right.
That's right.
He doesn't need 12 nice tries. Like,
Was it really that good of a swing?
yeah, exactly.
Morris,
Yeah.
bring it down a notch.
Bring it down. I probably get that. And
right.
I'm fully aware of that.
Yeah.
And my wife is like, why do you cheer for every kid? I'm like, well, it kind of makes me feel good.
why
to cheer
wouldn't
for
I?
them.
Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Right.
So, volunteering is not necessarily a natural thing. I need to do much better at that. And the reason I ask those questions is I think I do. I really want to be inspired by people that are doing it, because there's not enough people. So when you get around somebody, I really want to find out, like, where is that coming from? You've taken it up another notch, because I don't think that you got into the field that you're in with the ambition that you were going to get rich, right?
No.
And nobody in your organization joined your organization with the intent that they were going to have 3 summer houses and be able to travel the world.
No.
Like there is a calling for them. Some of them maybe needed a job and then the calling hits them.
Absolutely.
Some had a calling and figured out this was a great career to hit the calling and have a career.
Right.
Some maybe just had a calling and didn't care.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? But either way, there's a calling in there.
There is. Yeah, it's a vocation. This work is a vocation. There's no doubt about it. If it's just a job, you're not going to be successful, and you'll burn out, and you won't feel the connection, the human connection of this work. But if you look at it as a vocation, and it's not transactional, right? And I'm here to do something that is impactful, that is meaningful, that builds connection and support for individuals, for humans, then you're gonna be okay.
See what the last sentence he just said, I think should apply to every business. I don't care what your vocation is,
For
right?
humans.
You should literally be inspired. It's for humans, whether you're at Chick-fil-A or you're at Oak
Oak Leyden.
Oak Leyden, but it's not, right? I'd want that for every business, but because there's this, it is a higher calling to what you're talking about, because you are going to really, this isn't let me sell this copy or let me do this thing. It's I have a person in front of me with a developmental, issue, and now they are violent or verbally aggressive or they are catatonic, and that scares a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And
it's
bigger.
Right, completely. And you see our team and they're engaging and you feel that connection, right? And you see, to steal John's word, you see that aura, right? And it's like, wow, you are really getting it done. And it's really awesome to see.
Getting what done?
Just getting shit done. There we
Yes,
go.
let's
Bam.
go.
Bam.
Brought to you by Get a Shit Done podcast.
Yes.
There you go.
Boom.
Well played. Well played.
So
where do we go? Where are we?
no, I know where to go.
Can I throw something out there?
Please do.
This thing of this treasure map connecting the beginning to the not the end, but the current state. I was in New York checking out a show because I'm a Broadway junkie, but there was a young man sitting behind me, 20 years old, who was working in the healthcare industry. And we were talking about Broadway musicals, but then I just stopped in the midst of it and I was like, so what's your journey? And he was like, well, I'm doing this and I kind of want to do that and all these things. And I was like, all right, I'm 52 and he's 20. What would I want to tell myself? And the thing I shared was something I wish somebody had shared with me, is that the journey is unfolding exactly as it should. And I said that. I was like, you're going to be around all these other doctors and you're going to think everybody else has got it figured out. And you're like, I don't know if I've got it figured out. And I said to him, nobody does. Just keep going. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. There is a path. You have no idea what it is, but it will get you there. And to my point, I never thought I would do what I'm doing. I don't know if you thought this. You're probably going to be a baseball player.
No idea.
Right? And then you be in this world. But that is to people who are younger in the workforce that are coming up in this way, give themselves just a little bit of grace and patience and go, you don't have to figure out the planet, and your purpose in life right now. And it may be 50 or 60 years.
I'll
don't
be
know.
50 in October. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah.
Amen.
And guess what? I've had a pretty damn good life.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Yeah.
you just find a way, just whatever's in front of you, just do it. Somebody asked my older brother this interesting question, like, what if your son came to you and said, hey, Dad, I want to be what would a male ballerina be? Still a ballerina?
A ballet dancer.
A ballet dancer.
Yeah.
And it was one of his buddies, like tough guy kind of cover.
Right.
Yeah.
What would you do hey, you guys, hey, you guys, what would you do? Okay.
Was he going to be dancing with the Joffrey? Because if he's dancing with the Joffrey,
Joffrey,
he's going to
exactly.
be pretty world famous.
There
All
you
right,
go, yeah.
go be the best.
So he goes,
go be the best dancer you can be.
There's the answer.
Come on.
And my brother's answer was, well, he better be the best at it. He better be Bolitnikov. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't care what you do, just go be the best at it. And that's kind of the way that he told me that, like, when I was 17, 18, right? So that's kind of the way I looked at it. It's like, does it really matter what you do? Just do it with everything you got. And it kind of creates that treasure chest map for you. You just kind of piece it together.
But I think most people react with that, like, that sounds so exhausting. And I was like, it is, but it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Because on the backside, even if you are working at Chipotle, if you're the best at Chipotle, you're going to like your job better.
Yeah.
And then people are going to
You're
respond
winning.
to you, and they're going to come to you because you get shit done. You're doing things in an engaging way. And not to specifically point to that guy, the young guy who was working at the mall who you said had Down syndrome, but there's a book I remember a long time ago called The Energy Bus that I got from somebody at a dealer one time.
You're going to help me out here.
Do you know about this one?
No.
So it's a very simple fable about a guy whose car breaks down, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but he has to take the bus. And the bus driver, I don't know if you had this experience, but bus drivers are one of two things. They're either absolutely just the worst, disgruntled, angry people ever, or they are some of the nicest human beings on the planet because they're like, I've just got this world to control and I can do so much more. And so the mindset and the thing is, you decide who gets on the bus. You decide how far the bus goes. You decide the pace or the speed, but the bus is you, and you dictate what happens in that way. So I think that there is this balance of finding that calling and doing those things, but you got to be able, regardless of the job, whatever job you're in, unless it's toxic, get out. But if you've got something that you're doing, exhausting yourself in that job is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
because it's empowering, and all of a sudden you get motivated, and it will probably lead to whatever the next step on the treasure map is.
I absolutely love that, and thank you for bringing up book. If you guys don't mind for a second,
yeah, for sure. I'm curious about this.
Yeah, I have a previous guest that was on. His name is Justin Malwakizi.
What's up, Justin?
What's up, Justin?
And so Justin was a venture capitalist, right?
Yeah,
and like making bank, okay, high six figures. But he has this passion because he reads something he heard about, which is he reads the Lessons from Plato, allegory of the cave, right? And this is something that is thousands of years old. He reads this, and it just completely inspires him and motivates him. So he quits his job as a venture capitalist to become a ride share, because he discovered that it was the fastest way for him to interview 30,000 plus people so that he could get enough demographics to understand people enough to write his book. That book, folks, is called The Manufacturing of Poverty. Again, it's by Justin Malwakizi. So we're going to say he's co-sponsor of this episode. All right, so this book is absolutely amazing. So it's filled with not only the story of Plato's allegory of the cave and the power of choice, but like the first 4 sections, check this out. Understanding Plato's allegory of the cave, right? The nature of perception and reality, the role of choice in awareness, and the God factor, guidance, oneness, and direction. That's like the first chapter of the book. And then it goes into like a whole bunch of different topics as it relates to like how people in parts of the world look at money and why they continue to stay in the same spot over and over and over again, and why certain people just never prosper.
So you're saying I need to read this book?
I'm saying that everyone needs to read this book because
to you, Frank.
I think the ability to prosper is definitely a mindset thing first. You have to like get your mindset right. And there's a certain level of obstacles that we put in front of ourselves that keep us from living the maximum life that we possibly can. And I think this book would be very helpful for anyone who feels like they're really close to touching the next level but can't seem to get over that hump and to kind of get their mind right. So he talks about like, I never even heard this word, a guidon, right? So it would be like the principles of the 10 Commandments. Okay. You write 10 like specific guides, values, principles. Very like that is your thing, or the Bill of Rights. Very like clear.
Yep.
You write them for yourself. And then everything kind of builds off of that. So if you have a chance and you're looking to be inspired, you're looking for something that will help you to get over the top there, The Manufacturing of Poverty by Justin Malwakizi. I can tell you this is an unbelievably stand-up human being. If you want to check out previous episodes, he was on the podcast, and it's just an amazing story. And I'll give you one story. He is driving rideshare. He picks up this young adult, 19, 20 years old. So it's a kid, but an adult.
Yeah.
It's the middle of summer. It's on the west side of Chicago. Picks him up. Says, "Where are you going?" Guy's like, "Hey, I got a job. I got to go do whatever." And Justin looks at him and says, like, "It's the middle of summer. Why aren't you at the beach at Lake Michigan?" And the kid says, "I've never been." So the kid has lived in Chicago his whole life. He's 18, 19, 20 years old. He's taking a ride share to a job. He lives on the west side of Chicago, guys. If you aren't familiar with Chicago, it's a 15-minute drive to the beach, okay? And the Lake Michigan beach in June, July, August is like amazing. Superb. You have to go. And this is a kid. Why is he not at the beach? Why is he not going to do this? Kid had never been. So Justin turns off the ride share. So it's now a free ride.
Yeah.
And he drives them from like he goes down south and then takes them up the Michigan Avenue all the way up to like Lake Forest. Beautiful. And like just shows him everything that is within his reach. By the end of the ride, the kid is bawling, crying because he's never seen this and he's lived 15 minutes away.
Wow.
So that is one of the interviews that he did. And essentially what he learned in that is how the obstacles of this person's upbringing and life and what's been programmed into him of what he'll never be and what is not available to him actually was keeping him from actually seeing what exists in the world. Now, the three of us sitting here have a level of that, not as big as that young man, but have a level of that. And Justin is saying that he's done the research stemming from Plato's beliefs to essentially help people to overcome that.
Very cool.
I think that's pretty cool. So thanks, Justin. This episode's sponsored by you. Let's get back to RJ. RJ, let's talk about mindset here for a second. So I have three, you could say, similar to these things. I have three things that I have built my my career around, three pillars, right? Mindset, behavior, technique. So for me, especially being a tip of spear person, right? A promoter, a salesperson, a marketer, for me, number one to everything is mindset. If I don't have the right mindset, it just doesn't come out right. I can't transfer the energy. I'm not going to be persuasive enough. I'm not going to be influential enough. Nobody is going to want, right? To like sink their teeth in enough to actually really hear what I'm saying, right? Behavior. Like, you can't do something once and become an expert at it. So you have to do things enough times that they become habitual,
right?
And they have to be the right things. So that stems from the mindset. It leans into behavior. And then let's just face it. If you're going to have mastery, eventually you have to become a technician to whatever that thing is. So you have to establish technique, and you have to be able to repeat and duplicate that technique. And I don't think you're an expert at anything until you can teach other people how to do it. So you better be able to bring people with you. Okay, so if you had to break down your philosophy, your breakdown in business, like how are you leading? What are your pillars? You certainly have to have some, because you went from economics to some jobs with distributors and champion and doing your thing, and you've the treasure chest trail has gotten you now to this position of CEO. So when you get in that role, you address the team and you say, team, this is our purpose and here's how we operate. Take us from there. Like, what's the thing?
Knife hand. Go.
Bam. Boom. And it made the question super long so you could think of the answer.
I know, exactly. But I was also trying to listen to make sure that I understood what the question was, right? That was long. Holy moly. I think first and foremost, I bring a pretty good energy to whatever I do.
That.
All right. And so, but I think to your point, Frank, it's got to be genuine, right? So I've got to be genuine in how I present and genuine in the level of engagement that I bring, right? And I think I'm also blessed. I've got a pretty keen mind, so that helps with kind of diving into numbers. So I can spend some time kind of on the quant stuff, but then also have an opportunity to engage folks one-on-one, in person, in a group, and and still have the opportunity to convey kind of where we're going and what we're trying to do. And I think if I've learned anything over the years, that certainly I don't have all the answers, right? And I think when you get to a point in your journey, right, and on that map to the treasure, at different points you feel like I gotta have the answers because I'm sitting in the big chair, or I'm sitting in the chair of X, of leadership, of direction, of whatever it might be, and folks are looking to me, and the ability to say, you know what, John, that's a great question. I'm not sure. Let me check, and I need to get back to you on that.
So that humility leads him to being authentic.
That's pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
IT decision makers, this might sting. Frustrated with IT issues, security threats, and the stress of your technology infrastructure? Your technology should blend seamlessly with your business objectives. Technology infrastructure management with limited resources can be exhausting and counterproductive. Do you have an MSP but still have problems and technical hiccups? GSD's advisement, proactive maintenance, cutting-edge cybersecurity, cloud solutions, data backup, and local 24/7 help desk can change the game. Your technology should outpace your business operations to allow for growth, and proactive strategies should prevent issues before they arise. Get back your time and your money with GSD. Drive business forward. Leave the technology to GSD. GSDnow.com. Because I think a lot of people would be like, oh, yeah, here's what you do. You do this. I got all the answers.
Yeah.
I find that to be charming as well.
But you don't just kind of jump there, right? Because we're all put in places, and you've laughed before that, I've got a big voice, so if you say it with enough authority, people are going to believe you. Mm-hmm. And then Google came along, and now that ruins all that, right?
Yeah. Remember when it was
kryptonite to crappy leaders.
Remember it was like 1985. It was like, well, Ryan Sandberg batted 287.
Exactly.
And you're like, no, he didn't.
No.
He batted 295. Well, how do we get this argument? Does anyone have a Ryan Sandberg baseball card?
Dewey Decimal System.
And that argument could go on for 3 weeks until somebody's older brother had the baseball card. Exactly. Was like, you're both idiots. He batted 310. Dummies. Get away.
Right.
Now, to your point, what did Ryan Sandberg? Siri just pops in and goes, in 1985, he batted 279. It's like, what?
Right.
So
32 home runs and 27 stolen bases.
There's no more hyperbole.
No, there isn't. So it forces us to be that much more authentic, but I don't know that everybody got that memo, right? And so for me, it's really it's about just being who I am, and then taking the opportunity to move forward. And what I was challenged with when I joined Oak Leyden was, we're a decentralized operation. We've got 11 homes, we've got folks everywhere. And I'd do a lot better if we were all in one building, and I could, I could promote my energy, I could feed off your energy, and we could just be, now I got your back, literally and figuratively, I've got your back. Now we've got to send that message out to folks that are kind of in different areas.
But you and I had to talk during basketball, and you're like, we're doing this on Zoom, and we know that's craptastic. And your leader, your empowerer, was like, go out and meet them one-on-one. So he started setting up lunches and just coming in for an hour and hanging out with them in all of these different spots. Once again, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of energy, but you get what you give. And I just, also, he is Mr. Passion. I hate guarding him because it's 5:30 in the morning and he's
already at full speed.
He's running out. And he once or twice, and when we play in the mornings, he gets a breakaway layup and beats a ton of people. Number one, because they underestimate him, right?
Because I'm old.
They don't think that he's going to run that fast that way. But I think it's because he's motivated. He's excited to do what he does.
Plus, I know my limitations, right? And I don't move east to west really well, so I got to go north south.
Keep them MCLs together.
But I think that you're modeling exactly what you also want for your staff when they're in front of one of those patients, and somebody's like, "Is this what we give them?" They need to feel comfortable to say, "I don't know." And that's what RJ would do. RJ would say, I don't know.
I don't know, but I'll get you an answer.
Right.
Is powerful. Yeah. I'd recommend to any salesperson to absolutely use that line. And any prospective customer would be like, thank you. Because they've been told by other salespeople the wrong answer because that salesperson felt like they had to give an answer.
Yeah.
Instead of just having the guts and the honesty to be like, that's a great question. I don't have an answer to that, but I'm going to run through a wall to get you one.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you follow up, 45 minutes later or 2 hours later after you've left the appointment.
You're covered with bits of wall.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I got it. You come running back through their door with a fistful of paper.
That's right.
I got it.
That's right.
Now the question is, do you go back through the John Morris hole that you created in the wall that you ran through?
Absolutely. You just kind of poke your head in. Hey, is it cool if I come back in?
Exactly. I got it.
He comes through and says, right? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. I love your comment. That's a great question, right? It brought me back. I was on my journey, right, to where we are today. I was working with best leader that I've ever been. Had the opportunity to work with. Beth Purvis, shout out to Beth Purvis.
Shout out Beth.
Chicago International Charter School.
What made her the best?
She understood her gifts and she understood her team's gifts. And she didn't mince words.
So she just could exploit everyone's gifts.
Sure, but leverage them.
In a good
Not
way.
exploit them. Leverage them. Right, yeah.
You say tomato, I say leverage.
Potato,
Tomato, I say banana. That's right.
It's like apples and giraffes, right?
Yeah.
It's like the saying, toot for tart or tit for
Wait,
tat.
what?
What is it?
Who is it? Right? What did I say?
And
But-
we're back.
But we were applying for a charter school in Waukegan. I probably shouldn't have said the town. In another town outside of Chicago.
Waukesha.
Sure.
Don't worry, we're going to blur you
Right.
out like the FBI informant.
My name is RJ.
Exactly.
believe it was
And,
Waukegan.
And it was a great experience. And so we were going in front of the school board in an auditorium with a lot of folks in the audience. It was a very long meeting, and we were now at the question and answer phase. And we took a break beforehand, and Beth's like, seriously? I mean, it's like 10:30, and we're just getting to the questions and answers. This is going to go long into the evening. And I said, Beth, we were talking, and I said, just make sure that you say, that's a really good question, John. And so at every question, she said, John, that's a really good question. Blah, blah, blah. And she was bright. She is bright. She, and she answered. And when she didn't have an answer, she said, that's a great question. We'll get back to you because whatever. And afterward, she said, that was the most disarming line.
I was just going to say, we've just taught you something absolutely brilliant.
Right.
It gets people to neutral.
Exactly. Like it could have been such animosity in that room.
Yeah.
And it was just, wow, she just complimented me on my question.
As a public speaking subject matter expert, you want to make sure that doesn't turn into a repeater.
Totally,
Right? So
totally.
it's just used as a crutch. But what it is it's genuine gratitude for the question. And it's even just in your tone or your emphasis.
Yeah.
Be like, first of all, thank you for asking it.
That
you could
was
put it that
cool.
way. Or,
Yep.
man, I hadn't considered that way. Let's dive into your question. It shows the audience, number one, a little bit of appreciation. But other people in the group are like, all right, I'm ready to ask my question now because it seems like they actually give a shit about what I'm asking.
Right. It's safe and I know that my question is going to be taken seriously.
Correct.
Right.
Not
You know the other
defensively.
thing?
Not defensively.
Here's the other thing that we don't consider, or maybe we do, and we haven't articulated yet, so I will, is it buys the person answering the question time to think of the answer. So that I love doing that. And I love the fact that you just said, like, don't just every time go, ooh, that's a great
Vary
question.
it.
Eventually
Right.
you do
No,
it three
you got-
times in
right.
a row.
You gotta vary it.
So you got to
Right,
vary
right.
it. It's got to be sincere, and it's got to
Right.
be grateful, and actually say hey, that's a really complex question.
As if
could
a
be just as good as, hey, that's a really good question.
Another
right?
piece of humility in real time, and I think it's a leadership skill, is to say to them, I don't know if I fully even understand your question. Can you say it again?
Love that,
or
too.
reframe it back to me,
Right,
because I
right.
really want to dive into it, and I don't want to make any assumptions. So tell it to me again.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
they
try
will.
try to repeat it back. Right.
Yep.
Especially if it's complex. Right.
Yep.
Like, wait, what I'm hearing, John, is you're asking about this.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Okay. Let me dive into that. Right.
Yeah.
Or, hey, that's a really amazing question, and I'm going to answer, but I'm really curious, from what posture are you asking that question? Like, why is the answer to that question important to you? Then that causes them to have to give a deeper layer of what they want for an answer. So now you can target that
Right.
spot.
And she was also, she's the type of leader that, we had, 6 or 7 people with us in our group, in our team. So she would, that's a great,
What does everybody else
Frank,
think first?
Exactly. Frank, this is right up your alley, right? You want to take a first shot at it and right. So
What I say often as a facilitator, because we're encouraged to get the participants and any audience to try to engage, my common response is, RJ, that's a fantastic question. And I have a ton of thoughts on it, but I'm one person and I'm in a room of 27. So I'd like to see what the other 27 think first. I do have my stuff I'll add on the back end, but what does everybody else think? Raise your hand, give your thoughts to what RJ's question is. Now, in your situation, she was the leader in front of a school board and they're looking for as an authoritarian, authoritative figure. But I think if you're a leader in that room, instead of just immediately saying, yep, I've got all the answers, get the group to come in. And I've still found that there is room and space on the back end of that conversation for you to go, love it, love it, love it. Here's my thoughts.
totally.
And you've gained so much credit in your bank account because they're like, you let us go first.
And
absolutely.
They have ownership now, the full answer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The combination
and sometimes
of the full.
they even talk themselves out of their disdain for the idea.
Yeah.
Well, and so, one thing that I'm doing this semester, so I teach in a 1 credit course at Dominican University.
Did you volunteer for that?
Boy, that's a long commute.
Not for me. It's so the
I just
kind
got
of I
that.
raised my
Damn
hand
it,
right.
I just
I
got
know
that.
exactly, but I'm pumped. So it's a career and vocational class, and it's level 200 class, sophomores and some upperclassmen, and we were just talking. The semester wrapped up last week, and it's a 75-minute class, 1 credit, and a lot of really good. Just career development, right? Vocational stuff and very prescriptive, and the university has kind of what the curriculum is, and when we created a really good energy amongst the 12 students and myself, and it's exactly what you just described, Frank. It's not a hub and spoke, right? It's not me to John, me to Frank. It's creating that web, right? Because we're going to learn better from all of us, right? And the opportunity, and when I saw that it was clicking was when a student referenced what someone else said, right? And so it wasn't just me to Giselle; it was Giselle actually commenting on Alejandro's comment, like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, this is working, right? Folks are engaged. They're bringing something to the table, and it's not just relying on me as the facilitator at the front of the room." It's really it's that cross pollination.
And bringing it back to Oak Leyden, you're not the person in those facilities 24 hours a day dealing with those people, right? There's somebody else who has so much more experience, and you may have been in the industry for a long time, but they're there doing all of the little bits and pieces.
All of it.
And
right.
they have to know more than you do. You can still be the person who guides the team, but you're like, tell me all the pieces of the map.
Right. There's no way that we can all be the subject matter expert of all of those areas.
You sure? There's a lot of leaders out there who think they can, RJ.
Yeah.
A lot of leaders out there think they can. They think it's their job.
Get their sense.
Wow.
But I'm with you.
You hired people that have a specific expertise, and then you're going to tell them how they're going to do their specific expertise.
Right, because
and you're a generalist.
Right, that always proves positive.
Maybe
right,
not
that,
so,
right.
so
yeah.
strong.
Don't we want smart people around us?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
I would prefer to hire myself out of a job.
See, but there's a lot of leaders.
I've done that.
They view that as a threat. They view that as a threat. I was doing a leadership class 2 weeks ago, and I was like, you should feel it as a badge, wear it as a badge of honor that you're training your replacement. And they were, I could feel like a bomb went off in the room. They're like, oh, a lot of leaders did not like that term, And I'm like, they're not going to be you. They don't have your secret sauce, your special way, but skills are skills. So if it's put this cup on this coaster and that's the job, you should be able to replace train your replacement to do that. But they can't be your essence and who you are, your soul, your spirit, your way you walk. But the skill is the skill. If you're not even training them on that, what are we talking about?
So this is where you look back and you go, I was privileged to come up and by people that taught me these things.
Yeah.
Even in the moment, you're like, God, this sucks. Why am I here? But I had a boss who essentially said, hey, do you want to be promoted? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. He goes, great, find your replacement. Because you can't be until you find somebody who can do it as well as you, if not better.
Yeah.
And it would be really helpful if you're going to move up to manage them.
Yeah.
If you were the one who developed them into that role because they already have the respect.
Right.
And here I am thinking like, I can never have somebody be as good as me in the role. So I got to keep people kind of here. Right. So that I'm always up here. And that's the youth of being like 25, 26 and being like, don't get, all right, I need you to be awesome. Don't get too awesome, though.
Exactly.
I had a lightning bolt the other day. Somebody said, that person you look up to, who you're aspiring to be like, the first thing you should start to ask yourself is, what did it cost? And then, what did it take for them to get there? You just see their title or their position or their thing, but you have no concept of what the toll was to get there. I'm not doing this. I want to look up a word. I'm going to tell you what that word is, so keep talking. Okay. Something RJ said multiple times.
So I want to ask you this, RJ, because I'm really curious as you sit in that big chair that you talked about as a CEO. I've heard this. You validate the statement, and then if you could add some texture to it.
All right.
The most important thing that a CEO needs to really focus on is clarity of vision and repetition of message. True, false, add texture.
Yes. I think clarity, absolutely, right? And what and the messaging part goes hand in glove, right? And because and I've been far too guilty of this, of it's clear in my head, right? And
I get
crack
it.
that sucker open.
Yeah. I get it. Why don't they?
Somebody one time said, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like, well, stick it out. Let's cut it off and take a look.
Anything there?
No. No.
So without a doubt, right? And also not doing it in a vacuum, right? So the clarity of mission, to make sure that it's something that is easily digestible amongst the team, right? So finding that partner in crime that I can bounce something off Frank and say, all right, Frank, does this make sense to you? Like, am I thinking about this correctly? And do we have the horses? Do we have the manpower? Do we have the bandwidth to move this mission forward in this way? Right. And again, it goes back to the confidence in yourself and your team to be able to say, you know what, I'm totally vulnerable here. Right. So John, right. So John, let me know. And I'm grateful that I got a couple of members on our team like that will say, I don't know, I think you're overreaching here, right? Or you said this really well. Maybe just stay there.
But
right?
echo chambers sound great because what's the only thing you hear?
Hey, everybody, look how good I look.
Yourself.
Wow.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, look how good I sound.
Stuart Smiley. Oh, and everybody likes me.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough.
But that's that vulnerability piece, man. That's the number one watched TED Talk of all time now.
Is it really? Wow. Wow. It's stinking
what's her
real.
name? Gosh, it's like literally. Oh, it's not. No, I can't think of it. Brene Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Number one watched TED Talk of all
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
And it's just a talk about vulnerability.
Right. Help me understand, right? And engaging in that level is really
So by rounding up
powerful.
the troops and saying, this is what I think the clarity of mission is, you get the consensus. Number one, it's probably going to be more accurate, but number two, more buy-in.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
And it's, and we've got to keep, communicating that, right? And not, and that's where I think we've come up shy is, just that level of repetitive communication and making sure that it's not just kind of what we were just talking about, the hub and spoke, right? It's got to be the web amongst and with and for each other, right? So it's not just RJ, the talking head at the front of the room or on a video or whatever, right? It's got to be kind of felt and lived throughout the organization. And that's really hard. We got work to do.
So much work.
Well, there's something interesting to that too, because nowadays, the importance of content creation, is 10x what it was 5 years ago.
Yep.
Like COVID, I think things were changing by decade. Then COVID happened. Now they're changing by the year. Mm-hmm. It's like changing that fast.
Boom. Right.
And so content now is king, queen, and the whole damn court. And I think one of the things that companies are missing is you have a brand vision internally. Why not take that internal vision and message and take it externally?
Right.
And I see a lot of companies where they have an internal message that only half the internal team understands or knows. That's a mistake, number one. But the external market doesn't know that part of the vision or message. They know the sales and marketing version, features, benefits, solutions, problems, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Well, guess what? Your competition has likely the same within reason, features, benefits, problem, solution, solve. So what's the tiebreaker?
Right. Where's the value add?
Right.
What's the tiebreaker?
What's the tiebreaker? Like, how do you win all the tiebreakers?
Let's go to the scorecard.
Right. Exactly. Think about it. In baseball, it's like business, right? No baseball team is going to lose more than 60% of their baseball games,
unless they're
or 33%.
You were about to throw a team under the bus.
Me,
I was.
You were like, unless you're the Pirates or something.
Did you see me stop? Did you see me stop? Yeah.
33% of their games.
Right.
No team, right, is going to So you're going to lose 33%. You're going to win 33% automatically.
Right.
It's the 34% in the middle that determines whether you're in first or last.
Yeah.
Is how many of that 34% can you? And I think it's the same thing in sales, in business. Is you're going to get 33% you should. You're not going to get the 33% you shouldn't. How much of the ones in the middle can you? So really, what your content comes down to is how much of the tiebreakers can I win?
Right.
Your internal content. And your internal messaging should be running parallel with your external message. So you start creating content that is inside out. You're taking the inside, you're bringing it to the external market. You're getting them to understand what makes you tick, what you believe in, what your vision is, what your purpose, what your principles are, not just the features and benefits, right?
Right.
And so when you talk about that, it's like, how can you have that if you don't have clarity of the vision internally, just in everyday conversations with employees?
Right.
How can you even turn it into a marketing play?
Right.
Until you define it.
Right. And so much of it, certainly from our perspective, we're marketing to our internal team also.
Yeah.
Right. And because it's important for them to realize the impact they're making.
Right.
Right. And just, it's not just a pat on the back. It's we need to celebrate. And gosh, we don't do that really well. Right. And because we're on the treadmill and you got to keep moving, right? Because if you stop and you're on the treadmill, you get bounced off the back, right? And so how do we make sure that we're, highlighting and celebrating even the daily just good stuff, the daily grind and daily activities? It's important. We got to shine a light, and it can be bright at times. It could be just a nice little flicker, but we still got to shine it.
I love that, because I think themed celebrations solidify. Right? Like if you take actions or activities that you want to become habitual and you celebrate them and you recognize people for them and you announce them and you document them and you put them up on a wall and you turn it into content so it gets seen by the masses. Like when the person who gets that sees that, they're like, they get the feel good, but it's the other 50 people that see it that go, oh, okay, so if I behave that way, I get that treatment.
Exactly.
Okay. Now I know what to do.
Now I know. Right. Now I know.
And the market goes, wow, look how they reward somebody for doing that thing. Man, they really are purpose focused. I want to work with winners like that.
Right.
So you become kind of magnetizing. You become a multiplier.
Yeah.
So I looked up this word, and you've said it a bunch of times. Can you guess what the word I looked up is? You have any guesses? He said it like 12 times.
Uh-oh.
Maybe the podcast king can do an actual count. He said vocation. And so I'm a word guy. I always love to look at the etymology of words. A strong feeling of suitability for a particular career, but there was this secondary definition. A person's employment or main occupation, especially regarded as particularly worthy or requiring great dedication. And so particularly worthy, that's definitely what you do, but requiring great dedication. And my question is can everybody turn an occupation into a vocation? Or do you have to find your vocation to like your occupation? This is a t-shirt I'm working on, and it all rhymes. But like what we're all hoping for is that we can get people to look at their occupation as a vocation. God bless them, and how they won the lotto if their vocation is by chance their occupation. But man, like if you view or consider that any job you have is worthy of great dedication. One of my favorite shows is The Bear, and there's episode
behind you, chef.
Yes, chef. Like episode, I can't remember the number, but it's called Forks, and I've quoted it many times. And there's this character Richie who's polishing forks, and then he's bitching and complaining about it, and he comes outside, and this other character Garrett, who's at this 3-star Michelin restaurant, asks him one simple question: is like, do you think this is below you? Do you think this is beneath you? Yeah. Do you really feel like polishing forks is just you're too good for that? And when you ask, if you can ask that question of people, like we're in this situation serving these people, and if they're ever struggling with it, not in an aggressive way, but like, do you think this is beneath you? Like I'm asking you to give an extra 5 or 10%. I can tell you all the times that, oh, it's so good for you and it's good for them and it's good for all of this and everything. But pause for a second and ask yourself, do you really think you're above what I'm asking you to do? And if the answer is no, then I think you can you can look at this as a vocation. You can give it great dedication, and you can have passion about it. But it's a choice, unless like by chance you stumble and you're like, oh man, I just found me, So
I wonder what the breakdown of that would be. Like how many people found it, how many people
made it,
how many people accidentally arrived at it.
Yeah.
Your roots to this goes all the way back to your upbringing, to your sister.
Right.
And that has to have hung with you, and kind of was a little bit of a burning light inside of you.
And I didn't realize, right? And until the opportunity presented itself that Oak Leyden was looking for a new CEO, did I think, wow, that
Did the same thing that made you raise your hand to volunteer talk to you?
Kind of.
It was like,
RJ.
Whoa.
Do you think maybe that same thing was like,
Yeah.
you will now send your resume?
paging RJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
All of a sudden your printer just started going off.
Exactly. Is this on?
How old was that printer?
Well, I was thinking of Good Morning Vietnam.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Like,
a telegram,
circles.
right?
Here,
Right,
this
right.
is good. This could go out.
Right. Classic. Yes. Yes.
I don't
think,
care what you play. Just play it loud.
Right. Go. Good morning, Vietnam. So, yes.
Is this a movie podcast all of a
It feels
sudden?
like
Yeah.
it, doesn't it? We've had about 17 quotes, haven't
That's
we?
right.
I think Gen X and above,
Right.
we quote movies. Like we could,
it's my favorite.
could communicate in movies.
Yeah.
And then I think that millennials down, they quote content pieces,
Yeah.
Interesting.
influencers,
Right,
social
right.
media stuff. It's crazy. My
That's
kids
why
will
I
be
don't
talking about,
understand
like,
it,
what is
right?
that? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, oh, it's a guy who creates these whatever. And then I'll look at it.
But
I'm
we're
like,
better. Let's be
Yeah,
clear.
then I'm-
Did we
I'm
just
like-
become best friends?
I'm like, guys, have you
Who
seen
signed that? Randy
Caddyshack?
Jackson. Right? It's like I can't even look at you. You're like a cross between Fergie and Jesus. I think you were floating when you
You
were
know
singing.
how I know you're a liar? Okay. Because what was the show? Baywatch isn't on until 4 or whatever the show was.
I don't know.
Yeah.
You're going way back, my friend.
No, that's Step Brothers.
Is it?
Right. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, funny.
Did you touch my drum set?
Yeah. He goes, do you know how I know you're a liar? Cops isn't on until 4.
That's right. There it is. Now I got you.
Yeah, now
I got
Right.
you.
There we go.
All right. Sorry, RJ. Frank and I are just
Yeah.
having a little movie thing here, if you don't mind.
Right. It's all good. I'm on the tail
right.
end of the baby
Frank,
boom. So,
back
right,
to the
right.
guest.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Hello. I'm over here.
Here I
I'm
am.
over here. I swear. I didn't
He's
move.
throwing his headset at
Exactly.
us.
I'm out of here. Right?
What's the need? Because you've been talking about this organization that you're inspired to serve in all those ways, but you're here obviously to spread that message. Where's the need? Where can help be provided? If there is somebody out there listening to this and they're like, what is happening to my
What
arm?
is that supposed to mean?
You know?
If they made it this far,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Well,
for
they
sure.
will make it this
right?
far because I clip it.
Right, there we go. Love it. So just kind of a quick snapshot of our budget. So 80% of our funding comes from the state of Illinois through the Department of Human Services, IDHS, and the Division of Developmental Disabilities. Another 10% are Social Security dollars that follow the folks that live in our homes. So 90+% of our operating revenue are government dollars that make their way to us and really truly follow. They're all reimbursement, follow the folks that we care for. The last 10-ish% are dollars that we need to raise through either institutional funders, big foundations, et cetera, individuals, some municipalities that fund our work,
Podcast listeners.
listeners, absolutely. And for us, so our operating budget is about $10 million. So just kind of rough numbers, about $8 million are the state dollars, another million or so are Social Security dollars, and then we're kind of left to raise somewhere between 750 to north of that.
Yeah.
So for us, that need, that piece that will allow us to move the needle, the incremental dollars that we're able to raise can really just help kind of round out the days for the folks that we support, right? And allow us to make sure that their homes are, that we're allowing our folks to age in place, right?
Yeah.
And individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, they're living longer lives than anyone anticipated, right? So we want to make sure that the homes that they live in, that they're accessible and they can sustain their lives in these homes because they live in the community, right? And they may live down the block from you or me, and we don't know, right? And so they're members of the community, and we want to make sure that they can spend their lives there, right? Yeah. So making the bathrooms more accessible and removing tubs and just having, zero gravity, tubs or showers, right? And just redoing kitchens so that work can be done and it's just more accessible and adding ramps if necessary to our homes. And so just things along those lines to make sure that their environments are safe and they're supported. And it's also, those are the workplaces for the folks that on our team, right? So we want to make sure that it's livable. And we have a couple of homes that that are just small and the living room is really tight. And so we want to make sure that we have and that we're intentional. Frank, you used that term earlier, and we need to be intentional. A lot of times, certainly Oak Leyden and I think other nonprofits, we just kind of take what's there and we just go because we don't have the resources. We don't have a big nest egg that we can tap into. But we need to be that much more intentional, make sure that the homes that we have for our folks, that they're hitting all of those pieces. And the incremental dollars that we're able to raise can really help that, right? And help us create a safe and nurturing environment for our participants, a meaningful workplace for our folks, right? And just so that folks feel good and that they're able to experience joy, right?
Yeah.
That day in and day out, whatever that may look like, because it's going to vary, right? And just having those opportunities, that's why it's great to John, for the invitation to be here, just to spread the word, right? And you had shared earlier, it is about awareness, right? Because the overwhelming majority of folks that we support are referrals through the state, right? So those individuals and those families have to get their loved ones on the waiting list, and there are 16,000 people on that waiting list throughout the state of Illinois right now. And so we can open a new home for 4 individuals, but we're not gonna dip into that, right? And so for us, it's not about breadth, it's about depth, and we need to just continue to deepen our impact and engage and connect with our folks.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate for a second here. Okay,
bring it on.
Because in sales, there's something called WIFM. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
And this is the what's in it for me.
I haven't seen this side of John before. I'm just going to put it out there. This is a new side for me.
Should we get close?
Normally he sits behind me.
So all right.
All right, bring it up.
What do you want to know? What's in it for you, pal?
Exactly.
Let's do it.
So I'm a potential donor.
Yes.
Okay. I own a business, let's say.
Yeah.
And I want to do something of significance. Right?
Yes.
Brian Floriani taught me this.
All right, I love it.
Fantastic human.
Right.
He said, hey, look, success just kind of stays in this realm, right? It doesn't go with you. Nobody talks about that at your eulogy.
Right.
Or they talk about it and people sit there and go, I don't remember him that way. Right? So, we want to do things that are significant, that people are going to talk about, that we're remembered by.
Right.
Or somebody talks about us when we're not at the party and goes, you know what this son of a gun does for businesses? He'll never say it, but you know what he does?
Right.
All right, so I own a business. I've made some significant money. I want to do something of significance. But at the same time, what's in it for me? What is the impact on society if I donate money? What's the economic benefit to an area, to my community that I've operated in for X amount of years and I've flourished in, and I want to give back. I want to give back certainly to the family, the people, but how do I give back to my community where it's significant? So if I give you $100,000 check, right? What's in it for me? What say you?
Go, right?
Go ahead.
Right. Carry on. No, I get both. I get all of them. Wow, exactly. Let's triangulate this.
Right. I have thoughts of that answer, but I'm not. I'm going to wait, and I'm going to hear you.
No, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Don't do the thing you talked about. This is the thing you guys just talked about. I see what happened here. No, you give your thoughts. Next thing I'm the one talking, and I ask the question.
And what did you want to get out of that?
Exactly.
Right?
I try to be charitable,
right?
Because it's better for my soul.
Yeah,
and it makes me understand that my place in this world is not just me. I've given money to people on the street, and my son has seen it. And then we were downtown one time, and I didn't have any money on me. There's a person asking, and we walked by, and my son was like, Dad. I was like, what? And he's like, Dad. And he says these words, this is what we do. Yeah. And I was like,
I don't think he takes Apple Pay, son.
Shit. But if he did, it should. And he's not wrong. Like, this is what we do. And I think if you're part of the human race, it's what we do. Now, I don't know the research, and you may.
Okay, so I want to say this, though.
Yeah.
So I think we established that part earlier in the podcast.
Yeah.
You're 100% right.
But I'm buying into it.
But you got me warm and fuzzy here because that's the touchy-feeling part.
What's the data?
But let's talk to an analyst.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the analytical personality who's
Yes.
like, hey, this is a business call.
It's a good point.
Okay, so like one thought, I'm with you, but
Yeah.
I know there's people that are not like me and you out there that maybe are listening to this and they're like, well, I want to give back, but hey, look, this is a business check that I would be swiping for this. I'm going to sponsor this. What do I get for doing this? Because I could also swipe a check over here,
Totally,
and I could swipe a check over here instead as well.
And I don't mean to infer that somebody is not also feeling the warm and fuzzy, and that is, if that's not good enough, then you're not good enough. But I fully understand, I think, what you're saying, that they want to see the needle move, not in their pocketbook. They are absolutely donating, but they want to see that needle move for a positive cause.
Yeah.
In a positive way.
absolutely, and very well said. And love the question, love the opportunity. So we'll talk further when the microphones go dark, right? But in all honesty, that there's a program we've struggled to kind of get going, and it's Adopt One of Our Homes, right? It's Adopt a Cilla, and Cilla stands for Community Integrated Living Arrangements. So that's what at the state, that's kind of national. That's what our homes are. They're Cillas, CILA. And so one of the things that I think we can really engage with businesses, small businesses, large businesses, whatever it is this opportunity to adopt one of our homes, right? In my mind, I look at it from a $10,000 number, right? To adopt one of our homes. And what that can do for you and your organization is we'll look to have kind of quarterly activities with our participants. Kind of a holiday lunch of some sort, a summer barbecue, maybe a spring cleaning in the yard with our participants, and you invite your team to come out and engage and see that, oh my gosh, John is committed to this. He's a member of the community, and it allows your team, it's a team building exercise, right? And bring them back and follow up and talk about, what was that experience like? Were you surprised? Were you disappointed? Good, bad, ugly. What was that like? And what that'll do for us is it's that incremental piece, right? So maybe we can hire someone to do a deep cleaning of our homes every other month or quarterly, and maybe we'll be able to share some joy with our participants and have a catered meal on just a random weeknight, right? And go out for an activity and go bowling or go see a movie and just have an opportunity to just bring some life and joy into the lives of the folks that we support, but then also engage your team to see that and be part of that.
That's what I see.
Back to culture building.
Yeah,
right?
I see. That's what I see.
Yeah.
I see that there's a generation, millennials down especially, that have seen Gen X up kind of in a matrix. Mm-hmm. Right? Of like, get up, go do the job, like make your money, send your kids, and that's cool. But I think they feel like there's a part missing. And that part is that purpose, that give back. This is this millennial down.
Keep going.
Some of the most purpose-driven people.
Right.
They go to college for a reason.
Yep.
They want a backpack that's made out of recycled bottles.
Right.
They'd rather pay $25 extra for it. They want, if they're going to get handed a tumbler by the school they go to, they want that tumbler to be made from plastic that was recycled. Like,
absolutely.
Very purpose-driven.
Yes.
They're voting on a much higher level than ever before. The amount of folks under 25 that voted in this last election was like a record breaker, I think. Just an exorbitant number. So you have a very purpose-driven group of people. Now, the average buyer in the United States right now is 35 years old, right? So that just tells you that the buyers, what's coming, is very purpose-driven people. So I look at it from your standpoint. What's in it for the people that donate? Well, there's a few things. Number one, your team is purpose-driven.
Right.
So if you could say, hey, we're attaching our brand to this, and this is the impact it's having on these people.
Yep.
Then the second component is the marketplace wants to work with people that are about things deeper than the holy dollar. Mm-hmm. So if you could take that interaction where your brand goes out to Oak Leyden to interact with the people, and then you have a company, I don't know, like 2020 Design,
for instance,
come out and capture the content of that.
Yes.
And show the interaction between the two brands. A huge thing right now is collaboration of brands in a strategic way to promote each other.
Right.
So the brand that comes out promotes Oak Leyden. Oak Leyden promotes the brand that came out.
Right.
The cross-mogenation, I think Austin Powers would have said.
Mogenation?
Yeah, I think Austin
Copyright
Powers
trademarks 2025.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. Machine Gun Jubilees, right? So that cross-branding is unbelievably powerful because you're not promoting yourself. Somebody else is promoting you, but it was a cross-branding.
Right.
So now you've got content for days, right?
Yes.
So that becomes part of your media kit that you give to your sales and marketing people. It then goes to your HR team for recruiting because, hey, look, here's who you could go. Here's who you could work for.
Right.
And guess what? We're competitive with pay, and this is what the role does.
Right.
But look who we associate with and how we give back to society.
Right.
That recruit has a brother that has special needs.
Right.
And has that fire in their belly that you have for your sister.
Right.
You just won the tiebreaker between the other company. Now they want to come work for your company instead.
Did you just tie that all up with a bow?
Did you see that? Woo. Whoa, that was beautiful.
I think that's
right.
That's the play. That's the whiff 'em. It's not just give the money and we'll put your logo on a piece of our marketing thing. It's not just give the money and like, hey, remember how you gave that money? It was pretty cool, and these guys got a cleaner bathroom or whatever and a ramp.
Right.
There's a business element to this that you can lean into that has all kinds of feel goods, but there's some practical business benefits too.
Absolutely, it's impactful on all those levels that you so really nicely articulated, right? And it's A through Z on that, right? And you can't short sell any of those steps because it is meaningful. And where we have to walk a fine line is kind of the showcasing the folks that we support, right? And it's got to be meaningful interaction and meaningful engagement. It's not
exploitive.
It's not exploitive. Thank you. Right. And it can be, right. And it doesn't have to be that. And because it's genuine, because our folks are genuine, right. And you know, and they know when you're engaged, they know when you're genuine, and it's just it can be really powerful.
I was Googling over here the statistical element
on your phone.
Nice.
I was looking at like what is the actual benefit of donating to charities, and there's a ton of stats in there about reductions in homelessness, reduction in crime rate, reduction in hunger and poverty statistically from state to state.
You knew where you got.
But I like what you did better.
There's so many. Well, I guess my point is like. Look, we've hit you with the warm and fuzzy, and the warm and fuzzy is all kinds of here. It's embedded in this whole thing.
Right.
And if you don't feel that, like, I'm sorry, the show's not right for you, you might want to maybe, like, I don't know, get in touch with a higher power. Maybe call your mom. I don't know.
Go listen to the Go Break Rocks podcast.
Exactly. Go kick the Bag of Glass podcast.
That's right.
It's a bag of glass. You play with it. A bag of glass. Right. You know what I mean? Like, this might not be for, but I think we've hit you with all the purpose thing. I just want to get some of the other parts out there because I think there's a business practicality. It is a fine line that you have to walk.
Absolutely.
Because we don't want to step on the purpose in order to make it about profit.
No.
Yeah.
We want to lead with purpose.
Right.
But there's a profit in it as well. There's profit in the purpose, not purpose in the profit.
Exactly. And there is a return on that investment. It may not look like a return that you see in other investments that you make, but it's still tangible.
There's a lot of intangible capital.
A lot of intangible, And there's some tangible pieces to it, right?
Yeah.
I think it really rounds it out. I think, to your point, Frank, some of the other stats, for us, like I said, it's not breadth, it's depth, right? So sure, you could give money to another very well-deserving organization and serve, an additional 1,000 people or 500 people or 100 people. We just don't have that, right? Because our engagement is deeper, right? And it's one-on-one, and that's where the impact is, right? So it's not about big numbers. We've figured that out. I've figured that out, right? That it's not about big numbers. It's about how deep, how is what we do quality, right? And are we supporting our folks in a quality way, increasing that engagement, giving them the tools to be successful in their work?
Yeah.
Well, Frank, wouldn't that give you a sense of safety in where you put your dollars? Because some people don't donate money because it's a tax write-off.
Sure,
right.
That was number 7 on the list of reasons and benefits.
So
the tax
there's
element.
a tax element to this. There's a feel-good element to it. There's what it does for society.
Yeah.
Right. There's that too.
I think that all of those would be for any charity I went to, but I think the one you mentioned on this adoptive thing is that I would still be connected to where my funds went.
Yeah, then
it's incredibly personal. And then you're talking about hey team, we're doing this. Are we going to get a tax incentive? Sure, but that is not why we did this. We did this because we wanted to reflect the culture of who we are as a team. And then, you had this conversation last time we were together, right? Great leadership or great culture is how people behave when you're not around. And so if I can do this thing where we instill this, I don't know the exact moment when somebody's going to be on a customer service call and the customer's complaining that this thing went wrong and policy says I'm not supposed to do that, but the generosity and the grace and the care of my leader says, hey, okay, now's the time where I'm going to provide a little charity.
It's internally influential.
Because it's what I've been modeled.
It's in here.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's the lead from the front.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like my dad said to me, oh, this is a good one. If you guys have time for a story.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you do. Well, unless you get up and leave mid-podcast, I'm going to tell it.
It's good to talk to you guys. Take care.
Exactly.
So
check,
my dad early on told me that I could say any word that he says.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right.
Because I was asking, I heard another kid swear, and I'm like, can I say that? And he's like, no. And I said, why not? He goes, you can say any word that you hear me say. Well, here was the thing. My dad never swore.
Oh, wow.
So because of that, you found that you didn't swear. Now,
right.
that has changed as I've
Dude, you're better than me, man.
Yeah,
Holy
that's
cow.
changed significantly as I've grown.
Right.
And I probably shouldn't say that to my kids because they'd be walking around like a bunch of truckers at a truck stop, right? But here's the funny story.
Okay.
Playing golf with my dad, I'm about 13 years old. My dad was a nice golfer, low to mid 80s, never broke 70. Never broke 80. I was breaking 80 by 13, 14 years old. So he was getting a little bit competitive and a little bit upset with that. We're at his golf course that he's a member at in Florida. He had a successful executive house here, house in Florida. We're at the club in Florida. We're playing. He's having his best round ever. He needs to bogey 18 to shoot 79.
Wow.
Just got to avoid the catastrophe double bogey.
Exactly.
That's all you got to do. I had played with him 30 times that summer. He hit a driver on 18 every single time. Now, this hole on 18 there's a layer of these trees, and it's up in the Amelia Island, Jacksonville area. So the trees are like super thick trees, the branches and the leaves.
Florida
and
trees.
Like big, thick Florida trees.
That are trying to kill you.
Right.
So they're lined all the way down the 18th hole. And behind that is the ocean, like the beach, right?
Wow,
so
wow.
like we're right there. So I don't know why. Wind's a little bit in our face. My dad decides he's going to hit a 4-iron because he's just going to play for the bogey.
Play it safe.
All day he's playing for par or birdie.
No.
He decides to play for the bogey. The son of a gun snap hooks. He snap hooks the 4-iron into the trees.
Oh, no.
And he takes the 4-iron and he goes, shit, and whips the 4-iron. I mean, and I hear it just going through the air. And it's slow motion for me. Not only the shit that he yelled, but the club. Just and the thing goes up in the top of the tree, and the tree's so thick, 4-iron never comes down.
Exactly.
I mean, I looked for it for a month, never came down. So my dad was the kind of guy when he was mad, you didn't talk to him, and he sure as hell was not going to talk to you. So he's got to now drop.
Right.
So he's got to drop. He's hitting 3. Right.
My.
Hits 3 short of the green, chips off to about 10 feet. He's got to make the putt for bogey.
Right.
Misses the putt, makes a 6. Shoots an 80. We go in the clubhouse. All of his cronies, come, hey, Bill, what's going on? How you doing? And he's dead silent to me. I'm 13, 14.
Right.
And like, he's just laser beams at me, like, don't you say a damn word kind of a thing, right? And his buddies are like, how'd you do, Bill? What'd you shoot? Because they got money on the line.
Right, of course.
Oh, you shot an 80? He's like, yeah, I shot an 80. So they walk away, and I can see he's just steaming. And I look at him, and I go, shit. And he got bright red, and then all of a sudden he busted out laughing. I said, you said I could say anything that you said, and I finally heard you say it. Like I wasn't going to miss the moment. But I tell that story.
The podcast name.
No, that's a different story, but I guess I fit into the brand. But
Dad, now you know.
Yeah, exactly. Hence the reason I tell that story is because exactly what you just said. Like leadership by doing, by leading from the front, it just bleeds into you. And I will tell you that I did not use that word until I heard him say it.
So good.
I mean, so
awesome.
And now
you're making my face hurt.
Now, Dad in heaven, I have a potty mouth, and I know every once in a while you send me a sign that I'm a total trash mouth, but I held the line as long as I could.
Exactly.
I had my son in the toilet fixing a cut one time, and we never had that toilet seat who was sort of just like off. You sit on it and it like clanks. And he's there, and I'm sitting on it trying to fix him, and it had clanked so many times, and it clanked, and I was about to say something bad. My son goes, that effing thing. And he didn't say the effing part. He said the whole thing.
The whole word.
And I was like, what did you say?
You what now?
And he was like, no, the toilet seat, that thing. I was like, do I say that when it does that? And he's like, yeah, you say that. Yeah. It was no malice. He just was doing what I was doing.
It's like the commercial, we have the after school commercial, the commercials for like the after, like, did you know commercials? And it was like, the dad walks in and catches the kid like rolling a joint or whatever. And the dad's like, what are you doing? And the kid's like, I learned it from watching you, Dad. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. But if you're doing really good things,
correct.
And you're
hopefully they still absorb those things, right?
Yeah. So it's probably a good idea. Here's the lesson: do more good things than bad, because they'll absorb both sides.
We can only hope, right?
We can only hope.
Yeah.
Well, I think what you're doing is an absolutely fantastic thing, and I think anytime somebody can find a greater purpose and be able to get up every single day and go do that for a living and make a great living and have all those feel goods and touch so many lives. I mean, it takes a special person to be able to be called to do that, but to do it well is another thing that takes a caliber of person, and to lead a group of people to have that mission every single day is a really, really powerful thing. And I think you shine that. And I think that there's a next element to this. If I have a child like that, why am I placing that child with Oak Leyden? So what's the presentation in that regard?
Yeah, I think it's, and thank you. That's very kind, and I'm blessed to have meaningful work. Right, that's one of the things that I thank thank folks that thank the good Lord, right, in my prayers that I have meaningful work. Right, great family, great faith,
just so you
great
know,
friends.
like, can you take in and like really understand how many lives you've changed? And how you are still shepherding and mentoring.
Yeah, I mean,
whether it's on the basketball court and what you do, but you have affected generations of families.
Yeah, the mom and dad, the grandparents. It's like the safety of like, Bobby's taken care of.
And they may not ever come to you and knock on your door and be like, RJ, this thing happened, but it's happened.
No, and thank you, Frank. No, I think the short answer, right, and I think it's a little overwhelming, honestly.
Yeah,
right, and it should be from a good perspective, but I think it's also from a wow, okay,
good stuff.
It's like you don't want to stop and think about it because maybe you would stop and think about it.
Right, exactly, and that's
got to keep going,
right, got to keep going, and so I think from the level of care that our folks offer our participants, the families. I got a wonderful email from mom of one of the gentlemen that lives in our home. Shout out to Darlene. We had our event a couple weeks ago. They live in Seattle now. Eric lives in one of our homes, and they came out for it. And she truly sent me the most wonderful email last night, and just thanked me. Great to see the organization, great to be part of it. And she shared a story at our day program, and that she was visiting her son. They were heading to the airport, and as she said, I kind of lost it, right? And so two of our team members, instinctively, without any pretense, gave her a huge hug, right? Yeah. And then folks from the other classroom came over and gave she and her husband hugs, like basically saying, we got this. We got Eric. We've got you, and just know that he's with us, mm-hmm. and we got this. And
God bless the caregivers.
I mean,
right? And so we do. We have to bless them, yeah. Right? We have to pay them. We have to incentivize them in a way that allows them to be who they are, right? And recognize them, to your point earlier, John, right? Like shine a light and just be good with that, right? Mm-hmm. And just find ways to just engage, right? And thank and just be grateful for this work and the opportunities to impact folks, right? And just do good things and be present in this world.
Okay, so I want to kind of wrap this up, and I'm curious. You to raise money, you have events. So number one, is there an event coming up? Number two, how would somebody that I talked to Sean Jeffers,
right? Oh yeah,
taught me something amazing, and it'll stick with me forever.
Yep.
Sean Jeffers said, every single person has a way to give back, whether it be time, talent, or treasure.
Yes.
So there are, and that has, like, I think I've said it on every episode after, and he was like the fourth episode or fifth episode, like, because it's hit me.
Right. It's
so
true.
good.
Right.
It's so good.
Right.
By the way, you could do that at your job.
Right.
You could give your time, talent, and treasure.
Right.
Like, you could do that.
Right.
So, what event do you have coming up that somebody could contribute to,
yes.
whether it be time, talent, or treasure? If you don't own a business where you could swipe a check for $100,000 to be part of that 10% that needs to be raised, how could somebody contribute in another way that would be meaningful, not only for them, their family, and the families that it would touch?
Right.
And if somebody wanted to, come see the facility, how would they get in contact with you? So there's 3 questions. I think you could bake it all into an answer here.
Absolutely. So our next event is a golf outing. Might be pertinent to some people that I know. Sold. So we're partnering with a friend of mine. He's sponsored his own golf outing that has benefited organizations like ours. And so I reached out. Greg Hunt, a phenomenal guy. Shout out to Greg Hunt, the Bankers Charity Classic, Willing to Hunt. And so we're partnering with them at the Ruffled Feathers in July, the third Wednesday of July. I think it's the 16th.
Okay,
I should have that. There's a save the date in the swag bag I gave you. So
perfect.
So it's a great day, and we'll be out there. So if you're a golfer, come out and play. If you're a volunteer, come in and help us work registration. We'll have some fun games on the course. So join us there. We'll have Beat the Pro. We'll have some other fun events happening there. And then, there we go. Love the swag. Oak Leyden, baby. Able and equal.
Love swag.
Able and equal. That's us.
That's good.
So that's the event on the horizon. Your talent, come and see one of our day programs, right? And there's just a unique energy with these folks, and that they were doing a kickboxing class on Friday when I went over to say hello, and you got the YouTube on the big screen, and these guys are kicking, and it's fun. So if you've got a skill and interest, they'd love to be able to, experience that with you, right?
Can we do a field trip where I teach them how to play golf in a driving
that would
range?
be fun. That would be very fun. There are some guys that would love to do that. Right?
I would love to just show them the basics, how to hold the club, how to start the backswing, how to come through the downswing.
Absolutely, right.
I would love that.
There are some folks that would definitely enjoy that opportunity, right?
No 4-iron on 18, though.
No 4-iron, right? Exactly.
Yeah, no 4-iron.
We go double barrel.
Right, exactly. And then obviously your treasures and our website, oak-leyden, Leyden.org.
You're going to see that pop up right under me and RJ as we say it. If you would say it again, and it's going to pop up.
There we go. www.oak-leyden.org.
And there it is.
Boom. And my email is simply rjmcmahon@oakleyden.org. And if you're interested in coming out to see what we do, love to have you. We've got a family that's going to be visiting one of our homes on Saturday. So we'll be showing them. We're pitching them on the idea of adopting one of our Cillas, just with the idea of engaging their family and they're professionals and hopefully kind of engaging their workplaces that might be of interest. And so yes, there are opportunities to be involved. Also we'll be launching our strategic plan come July 1 and an opportunity to share within your community, your worlds of influence. Love to be able to share kind of what we're up to and where we plan to go in these next 3 years, because, there's some work to be done. Right. And we can't, two things. We can't sit on the sideline, right? The work is way too meaningful. And two, we can't be complacent, right? So we got to keep moving, right? And I shared with my son, he's like, Dad, why are you still playing hoops in the morning, right? You're 60 years old. I'm like, yeah, a body that's in motion stays in motion. And he's like, oh yeah, those natural laws. They're real. They're real. Like, yeah, they are,
It's
right?
Facts.
Get busy living.
Exactly.
Frank, final question.
Yes.
And then I'm going to have RJ make the final statement. So if you want to have the final question and...
tell me more.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me a question.
Well, you'd ask the question.
I guess you're asking the question.
Ask the final question,
When you think of somebody who wants to possibly get in your business and maybe become the next you, what should they think about? What's at the heart of them saying, I heard this guy sounds inspirational, I've had a family member kind of the same thing, or I've wanted to work in a nonprofit or in the world of charity. What should they be bringing to the table?
What's
what should
the
they be thinking?
It's a really solid question, and thanks for asking.
Because I didn't know I was going to go.
Right, it was going to be 2 hours and 4 minutes to get a good question.
Right, exactly. Finally.
Go ahead.
Exactly. Okay, take a breath. So I think it's on multiple levels, right? And I think part of it is having a conversation. Like, reach out to me. Let's grab breakfast. Let's talk about what that is, because it's so individualized that you can't say, all right, if you do these 3 things, you'll wind up over here, right? It's about, okay, why? What is it that is of interest, and how can we get you in a position? Because frankly, most nonprofits are very flat, right? So there aren't really entry level opportunities to then rise up and you don't start in the mailroom and then all of a sudden you're head of sales.
It's not a career path type thing.
There tend not to be, right? Because of the nature of the work, right?
Yeah.
So it's really, you kind of got to figure out and then make your leap at some point, and it becomes a leap of faith, right? And you've got to be able to make that leap and know that, all right, whether I get there or not, it's going to be worth the leap. But you got to have the conversations to really kind of figure out, okay, what is it that I want to be? What impact do I want to make? And that discernment, you can't shortchange that, right? And at the same time, yeah, we all need really good people, right? So come on in and be part of this.
But you're ready to mentor.
Absolutely.
So I'm saying this to anybody who's watching this. I'm ready to mentor, but I found so many people who say they're ready for that to be mentored and they're not. I have people all the time say, hey, how do I do what you do? I'm like, here's the email address of the person I work for. Send them an email. And that person never gets an email. And so if you're watching this or you're hearing this and you're like, I want to work in a world where I give back, just email RJ and be prepared that it might not be the job tomorrow, but RJ is ready to mentor you, and you can ask him questions and he will give you his wisdom, and he will show you, maybe it's not this path, but it's another path to another organization that serves human beings in the right way. But man, it's something that you've talked about and something we've discussed. You have to make that first step. You have to break the seal. You just have to get off the step,
right?
And the porch and go and do something.
And people are receptive. They want to have those conversations with folks, right? And whether it's any of the three of us, and there are dozens and dozens of other people that are willing to answer questions and to engage in those conversations, because it moves the needle for all of us.
Yeah. I'll answer your questions. I'm not ready to mentor you. I can barely get my pants on in the morning. So
it's good to be honest.
I'm not RJ.
Right.
I'm not Frank. I'll tell you some shit. I don't know if it's right.
Right.
But
that's good to be honest.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you the pain that I've been through and what not to do.
There you go.
I know that really well.
Well, let's be honest, right? Don't we learn more from what we don't want to do?
Okay, then I could be a great mentor.
Seriously,
Sounds like I got some failure stories for you.
Absolutely. Hey, fail fast, right? When in doubt, fail fast, right?
Okay, final question.
Yes.
Okay, so you've given us the origin story. You've talked about the present as well. Mm-hmm. I want to know what's going to make you really, really, really happy if the future plays out the way that you see it.
Wow. Thank you for asking that. I think we're able to enjoy, my bride, myself, my family, we're able to enjoy life in an unencumbered state, right? That we're able to do what we want to do. As I shared off camera earlier, our kids are on the coasts. Our daughter, son-in-law, and grandson are in New York. Our son is in Oak Leyden, California. And so the opportunity to be together as much as we can be, even though we're not proximate, that will be a game changer for us, right? And it's, and honestly, just selfishly, I'd like to keep my toe in the water for something that gets me out of bed, whether it's hoops or, some consulting, something that, I don't think you can go 0 to 60 and then go back to 0, right? I think we all need to kind of keep that whole natural law, right? A body in motion stays in motion, and a mind in motion has got to stay active, right? And so. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a hybrid, and that'll bring some flexibility and some ability. So, yeah.
Once again, folks, he goes to family first. If that's not an indication of the type of person that you're dealing with, I don't know what is. And typically when you ask them about their life and they go right to family, that's a person of principle. That's a person of purpose. That's a person who is very centered and knows that everything starts from there. And if that's how they lead their life, it's probably how they run their business. It's probably how they interact with customers, right? It's about relationships, because the ultimate relationship is your wife and your kids. It's the ultimate relationship. And if it all starts there, it's probably pretty damn good after that. So I want to thank Frank T. Ziti for coming out and being a co-host.
Woo!
Thanks,
brother.
You are an absolute natural. I'm so blessed that I met you.
Feel the
this
same,
is
brother.
The power of LinkedIn, because we would have run in different circles had we not been vulnerable and just put our stuff out on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know you and feel like we are building this friendship that is just absolutely amazing. And because of that, I wouldn't now know RJ, who
so great,
who is, oh my gosh, you're just awesome. I mean,
thank you.
Just the energy you bring.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you should do when you retire. You should have a radio show. Dude, I would listen to that all day. The tone of voice, the energy that you communicate with is just absolutely powerful. So, and the wisdom is just layered. You're layered with all of the goods. You got the goods, baby. That. So I'm just so blessed and to be able to do this with fantastic people that get shit done. And by the way, gentlemen, I want to remind you, you got shit done.
Amen, brother.
Cheers. business handle 15% growth? If yes, you have to engage with 2020 Design. They fuse data and creativity to stop the scroll, break through the noise, and grab the attention of your future customers. 2020 Design will create competitive, click-worthy campaigns, design and build custom websites, spark your social media presence, and structure email campaigns that get right to your audience, the decision maker. Let's boost attention and awareness, which allows you to convert more sales. Check them out at 2020design.com. That's the number 20, TWENTY design.com.